Everybody, this is Kat, and I thought we'd try to do some stitching instead of diamond painting. I worked on my other diamond painting, that green one with a big butterfly. I worked on that for, I don't know, a couple hours after I closed the video this morning. And so get out of the way. And so, are you able to see this? Probably not. How about there? And so I decided to do some stitching. I don't know what I did. I did something to my neck this morning and twisted it wrong or something. And so I'm not able to move my head a whole lot. So we are going to do some stitching instead. Now you'll have to excuse me if I'm not able to hold this perfectly steady because I got it in a hoop and I'm holding it one-handed, and so it's a little hard to keep it real still. So my stitching is going to be very slow. Um, but I noticed that a lot of people are enjoying my videos, and I'm glad that y'all are enjoying them. I'm hoping to keep going and maybe get the channel to grow a little bit. I know a lot of the other um, creators are sending folks over my way, and a lot of people are viewing the videos, and so hope you enjoy them. Yeah, I noticed a lady mentioned that she enjoyed my little stories that I tell, and so I can do that too. I can tell stories. I mean, I got 60 plus years of stories that I can tell. You know, growing up, we did a lot of fishing, a lot of camping. My dad was a big outdoorsman, and we did a lot of camping when we were growing up, a lot of fishing and things like that, and hunting. And yes, even as a girl, even I hunted. I know it sounds funny, but I did. I used to go hunting with my dad all the time. Up until I got married, then I didn't do it so much after that. I mean, I got married and ended up getting pregnant almost immediately. And my daughter was born about 11 months after I got married. Yeah. Because I got married in April, and then and she was born in February. So yeah, I didn't go hunting a lot after that. I had a child to raise. I didn't have time for that kind of nonsense, right? Anyhow, but I still went fishing. I still went hiking. Um, I still went boating. I mean, we did a lot. Still went camping, but from that point on, it was me and my husband and my daughter. You know, and we went camping in some of the Some of the most weirdest places, let me tell you. And we didn't just go to a campground, honey. We did what's known as primitive camping, which, there's no bathrooms, there's no showers. Um, yeah, you're out in the middle of the woods, okay? And we used to go to this place called Half Moon Lake, and there wasn't nothing there. I mean, it was just a lake. And we'd go camping down there and go fishing and swimming and the whole 9 yards. The only thing you had to look out for was the gators. Because if you have a dog, which most of the time we usually took the dog with us, and if the dog got in the lake, the alligators definitely noticed almost immediately and wanted to turn your dog into a meal. So you had to really keep an eye out for the gators. They didn't seem to. They were afraid of us. They didn't seem to bother us, but they definitely did. If a dog hit the water, that was if that dog wasn't a fast swimmer, you would lose your dog. That's why we had this dog. Her name was Taffy, and she loved to go swimming. Unfortunately, whenever we went camping, we had to keep her on a leash or on a chain that we took with us, because if we didn't, she'd get in the lake, and I didn't want to lose her. I didn't want to lose her to the alligators, and so we had to keep her on the leash. But yeah, we used to do a lot of camping. Remember, I took a friend of mine to Half Moon, and this is a gal. She's from Miami, and we decided to go fishing, and we decided to go to Half Moon Lake, because Half Moon did have good fishing over there. And anyway, her name was Debbie, and she she was I mean, she's a big fisherman. She loved to fish, and so she's walking along the edge of the lake, in the high grass along the edge, and tossing her bait in and whatnot, and reel it in, and and then she'd move on a little bit more, and anyhow, she come running back to where we were all fishing, and her eyes, I swear, was big as saucers. She's as pale as a ghost, and I go, "What's going on, Debbie?" And she says, "I was down there fishing around that corner over there." And she says, "I was walking along, minding my own business, and tossing my line in, and almost stepped on the middle of a 4-foot alligator." And I'm going, "What?" And she goes, "Yeah." And she says, "I jumped so high." She says, "It's a wonder he didn't catch me." And anyhow, that was an interesting day, let's say. And that was when she realized that we have gators up there in the mid part of the state. It's not like it's not like down. It's not like this. We have them too. She had them in Miami, but she lived in the city, so they didn't have too much in the way of wildlife, shall we say, in the city. which I thought was kind of funny, really, but at least she was okay, right? And then she, then I took, and then first time she ever went camping, we went over to Juniper Springs Run. It's it's like a state campground, but it's pretty primitive. It's, it's got bathrooms and stuff, but they're not close by. You have to walk a pretty good distance to get to the bathrooms and the showers. And we pulled in and we started setting up camp and setting the tent up and everything. You see, we weren't fancy. We were lucky to have a tent, and so we got a fire going and started getting ready to start some supper because I was gonna make some beef stew. We cooked right over an open fire, and Debbie was sitting there. She's just talking, jabbering away, just talking. And she looked up, and uh, there was this squirrel that came down and got onto the table, at the other end of the table, the picnic table. And it was as snow white as can be. It was an albino, and which that's kind of unusual. You don't see too many of those, but this little critter, he was at least looking for a handout. So you could tell he was used to people. And I gave her some crackers, some saltine crackers, and she was busy sitting over there just talking away and feeding the squirrel. She'd never done that before, and so because I was in my 30s by then, and um, Debbie, I'd say she was about 25, 26, somewhere right in there. She's young. She was young. She was unmarried and had no kids, you know. And but we gave her a few things to talk about. Let's put it that way. Um, but yeah, she's a little city slicker, and she ended up getting exposed to the great outdoors and all the wildlife that goes with it. Yeah, my husband and I, we used to go hiking a lot in the woods, and my daughter was about 6 months old, I guess. Um, I guess she was about 6 months old, and we wanted to go hiking, and we didn't have one of those special type backpacks or whatever to carry an infant in. So what we did is we took an old backpack that we had, an old Army surplus backpack, and we um, designed it and modified it to where we could put my daughter in it, and she could look over the top, and she was nice and safe, and had little leg holes so she could sit there and look out. And we put her on my back, and off to the woods we went. And so my daughter spent a lot of time as a child, right, in the woods, backpacking and hiking and camping and you name it. All right, so we did a lot of that stuff. But so, and the funny thing is that today she doesn't do any of that at all. She has no desire to go in the woods. She has no desire to go camping or hiking or anything like that. She's somebody who stays at home. So I don't know what happened to her. And but yeah, that was the only entertainment we had. We didn't have close by things like movie theaters and restaurants and things like that. We didn't have all of that. We lived out way out in the boonies. Man, we used to laugh and say we had to pump in sunshine. That's how that's how far out in the boonies we were. But the thing is, it all depends on what you get used to. So and plus being raised by my mom and dad, my mom and dad both were outdoors people, and they did a lot. Like I said, I did a lot of camping when we were growing up. Mama used to say the only reason we used to do all that camping is because that's the only thing they could afford. Couldn't afford to take us to some fancy hotel or whatever or some tourist attraction. She ooh no, couldn't do that. It was way too expensive when even back then. You know, and after my dad retired from the military, uh, he used to he operated and managed a place called the Cigar City um, Gun Club, and what it was is where people would come out there and shoot their guns and things like that. He did that for a long time, and then he got his CDLs and he became a truck driver. And he did long hauling. He traveled from Florida to all the way up into New York, into Michigan, and all the way across the country to California. So he was what they call a long hauler, and he would be on the road and away from home for about 3 months, 3 or 4 months, and then all of a sudden, then he would come back and he'd be there for a while, a couple of weeks, and then he was back on the road again. Luckily, my mom was a military wife, and she was used to not having the hubby there all the time. So with him being a long hauler, it didn't seem to bother her too much. She had us 3 kids, and you know, and but she was an active mom. I mean, she's very active. She used to take us all kinds of places and do all kinds of things, and you know, she would take us kite flying. Remember that? You know, we used to have this little park there on the outskirts of Tampa, and we used to go to the park and fly our kites uh, in March and April, and so we did a lot of oddball things. We didn't do your run of the mill things that kids do today. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have Game Boys. We didn't have that kind of stuff. We had a, we had bicycles. We ran outdoors, and we played. We'd leave the house at 8, 9 o'clock at night, and during the day, and in the mornings, and we come back long enough to grab some lunch, and then we'd go back out, and we'd be out until almost dark. I mean, that's just the way it was. But you gotta remember, this is the late '60s, early '70s, and things weren't as they are today. Now you have to keep your kids on a tight leash, and you have to keep your eyeballs on them 24/7, because there's a lot of weird people out there now. We didn't have that problem so many years ago. We didn't have to worry about our kids. I mean, we worried about our kids, of course we did, but not like we have to today. Yeah, I started out, excuse me, I started out when I started cross stitching. I started out with it counted like everybody else did, and I just was not very good at it. And I would inevitably lose my place or with a count and end up having to tear it all out, start all over again. And I never did get it finished. Never finished anything because of it. And then, so when they started coming out with these printed ones, I jumped on them and said, hey, I'm going to try that. And I've been cross stitching this way ever since. Yeah, the first person that I used to watch for cross stitching was um, Stitching with Laura. She lives out in Colorado somewhere. And I used to watch her and whatnot and get ideas on how to do things and, that kind of good stuff. And then, she got into doing some diamond painting, and that's when I got into diamond painting as well. I said, I wonder if I could do that. And so, and that's how I got into this, into the crafting. I hope I'm not boring you to death. Just, watching somebody stitching is like watching paint dry. It just, it's not that exciting. Yeah. Yeah, I'm almost done with this one particular symbol over here. I got this few down here, and then I'm going to have to tie off, and then I got some more up through here. And then I'll be done with this particular color. And then I can move on to something else. Yeah, I don't know if I showed you the picture of this or not. I don't remember, to be honest with you. Let me finish this, and then I'll get the picture of it, and I'll show you what I'm actually working on. Because right now it just looks like blobs of color. And the one thing I do like about this particular pattern is that there's no back stitching. Which that is good for me. I don't like back stitching. Let me see if I can get all of these. I only got 2 more. I'm hoping I can play roulette with this piece of thread and get the very last one. Maybe. Looks like I might be able to make it. That sounds like my grandson may have ordered some pizza. Sounds like it. I can hear a car out there in the driveway. All right, look at that. I got it. I did it. All right, I'm going to flip this over and tie this off. Yeah. Come on. There we go. There we go. Mm-hmm. Okay, I had a needle in my mouth. All right, this is what I'm actually working on. I don't know if you can see that or not, but anyway, there she is. That's what I'm working on. It's like a big bouquet of sunflowers. I thought it was really pretty, so I decided to get this one. And what I liked about it, it has no back stitch. It's an 11 count, and the size is 65 by 40 centimeters. Okay, and doesn't have a whole lot of colors to it. It's only got 15 colors, but as you can see, the colors are gorgeous. As you can see, aren't those beautiful? All these real pretty colors, you know. And then you got these on the back. Yeah. So anyhow, well, I'm gonna end this. I hope you enjoyed it. It's a Sunday evening, so I hope you had a good time at church today if you went, and I hope that you know that God blesses you and keeps you safe. You know, hug your loved ones, tell them you love them, and we'll see you again maybe tomorrow. All right, you take care. Bye bye.